What's poppin', people? It's Dante, currently in Shibuya, Tokyo, Japan. Just hopped out of the coffee shop. Yeah, there's the Shibuya crossing over there, but we're gonna get out of here. You know, I'm gonna try to wander today. I'm gonna try to explore without any preconceived notions of where I'm going, what I'm gonna find. You know, what I think is interesting to consider is that your philosophy, your mindset directly reflects in the photographs you make. And so, actually the past, I'm gonna say like 2 years, basically, year and a half, I've been working in a park and I created a Zen garden. Like, I literally designed, constructed, and built a Zen garden where I meditate. And you know, what's interesting about this notion of Zen is that it's kind of indescribable, and there's really no way to apply it directly in your photography other than the present moment being flow. And like flow and sort of forgetting everything you think you know is the goal with this kind of thing. You know, what I'm doing today with my practice and what I've been doing since I've arrived here in Tokyo is simply allowing the serendipity, the spontaneity, the sort of chance nature of where I'm going to turn or what I'm going to photograph sort of flow through me and not really contemplate anything. And so one of the things that I like doing as a more technical photographic idea is subtracting the superfluous in my frames. And so today, it's a bit of a cloudy day, but I've been playing with the light and the way in which I can crush what's not important in the shadows and reveal the truth in the light and create these more abstractions of reality, these more minimalist frames that I'm very much intrigued by, that I think reflects the ethos of Zen. And so, yeah, maybe in order to cultivate your personal voice as an artist, you actually have to remove more. You have to remove more distractions, remove more from your life generally. You know, the things that we consume wind up consuming you. But when you limit your consumption and you enter the flow state of production, the things that you create become a direct reflection of your internal state. And so this is what I'm seeking to achieve on the streets. I'm seeking to evoke my soul in the frames that I make. And as woo-woo or strange as that sounds, I actually think this is the most profound way to approach photography. And it's the most difficult and challenging way, actually. You know, what I've come to the conclusion of is that it's very simple to understand where you must position your physical body in relationship to a subject, the background, and have the intuition to click the shutter at the decisive moment, right? Like, the visual game of photography is actually very simple. And so to go beyond this notion of creating a compelling or impactful image to actually making something that resonates more on a deep emotional level with you as the personal artist is, I believe, the ultimate challenge to undertake as a photographer. And so that's what I'm trying to work towards, is making pictures that reflect my internal state, not necessarily depicting reality as it is, but what it could be. And so we're working in embodied reality, walking through the streets. You know, I'm here in Tokyo and I'm looking at all these beautiful signs and all these beautiful people, etc., and I'm photographing the external world, but I'm merely using it as a way for me to reflect the internal state. And so my idea is that the future of street photography is location independent, right? You don't need to visit Tokyo, you don't need to travel far. I think actually the photos you make in these sort of more minimalist frames that I'm seeking to make, I think they become more ambiguous, you know? They're not necessarily grounded in a particular space or time. And I think that is where this kind of work shines. It's in the mundane, it's in the very monotonous sort of everyday life that we uplift in a photograph to a new height. You know, that to me is the ultimate challenge as well, is taking something seemingly ordinary, seemingly boring, seemingly banal or mundane, and then elevating it in a photograph. And that's very, very difficult to achieve, you know, in these kind of streets, in these environments like a city in Tokyo. You know, as insane as it is and how many people there are and how much chaos there is, it's still very difficult to create something interesting when most of the energy on the street is very passive. It's mostly people wandering and walking and moving from point A to point B. You have mostly people going on to the public transportation, going to work, going to school. You know, very mundane everyday life in these kind of urban cities, actually. And so I don't think it really matters where you shoot. But I think that the mindset that you adopt, I think this is what's going to mostly influence you. And so thinking about the Zen mindset, it's all about remaining in that present moment. It's all about sort of letting your mind shut down and letting your body move. And so, you know, you think of meditation, of sitting in lotus pose in front of the, you know, tree or whatever. But really for me, like championing the physical body and sort of allowing my physical body to simply be the vehicle where I'm driven by my courage, by my heart, you know. And that's what I hope to reflect in the photos, is my inner spiritedness, right? And so the body is interesting, you know, when you're moving and you're walking and you're observing and you're photographing and you enter this kind of flow state, you step outside of the passage of time and you really do become immersed with the rhythm and the beat of the street, you know, just following the sounds, the sights, the smells, you know, really feeling what the street is like is, I believe, the ultimate peak experience as a street photographer. It's being laser focused. And that focus isn't something that you must, you know, you know, have like with your mind, like so rationally, you know, just like laser focused on the leading lines and laser focused on, you know, the compositional decisions that you can make, right? The visual game. But it's more on the internal, it's more on that like emotional response that you have to your surroundings, that sort of feeling, and you follow that feeling, and that feeling derives from your gut, right? Your intuition. And so the intuition of the photographer is most critical to hone in on, and what I try to follow and obey. And so by obeying your gut and simply following your intuition and your curiosity, this is to me the ultimate compass that I allow to guide me. And so I'm not trying to say anything. I think ultimately what I have to say will be displayed in the photographs I make. And I think that's a very beautiful way to approach photography, not necessarily taking it so seriously, kind of just letting the chips fall as they may, following your curiosity, listening and obeying your gut. And, you know, as much as I'm looking at the world and putting four corners around something, honestly, this to me is not of my concern. It doesn't really matter what I put in the four corners, right? I'm not looking for anything. I'm not seeking anything. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just responding to my gut and obeying that intuition. I think that is such a special place to be, where you are simultaneously working rigorously. I'm out on the street from the morning to the evening. I'm shooting rapidly throughout the entirety of my day, and I'm taking my photography seriously. I'm making the decision to be out here and to be prepared with my camera and to be aware and heightened to, you know, be ready to click the shutter. But I'm simultaneously completely detached from the outcome of what it is that I'm making, which I think puts you in a very powerful place. And through that place of sort of effortless action, that sort of like non-action, you know, where you're kind of just immersed in the moment and photographing, detached from whatever the outcome or the results may bring, entering that flow state, this to me is where the purest photographs that you will make will come from. And it's a very subjective, a very personal approach to photography that I found through eliminating the noise as well, you know, eliminating comments on these YouTube videos that I publish, eliminating text messages and phone calls and emails, eliminating social media from my life, where I've been in a complete cocoon for the past 3-5 years. I mean, realistically, for the past decade, I've been in this perpetual flow state. I haven't missed a single day of taking pictures and immersing myself in my own world for a decade straight of me practicing my street photography, right? Like, I've been completely immersed in this thing, like subtracting all other aspects of life, which is radical, you know, whether it's personal life, like friendships, or, you know, relationships that are intimate. Like, most of my life has been dedicated to just being on the street and just like working on my photography, right? And so I'm trying to adopt a new philosophy, a new mindset that allows me to simultaneously thrive as a human being and an artist. And so by eliminating that attachment to the outcome, sort of separating myself from my ego as a photographer, I'm allowing myself to achieve that goal. And I feel more whole with this new approach. And that's why I'm eager to share with you this sort of mindset, this philosophy that I've been adopting. And, you know, now I think about it, right, when you're out in the world and you're making pictures of the world, the goal as an artist is to create a new world, right? And you have the capability and the power to create a new world in a fraction of a second. I mean, photography is a superpower, you know, where no matter where you are, no matter how boring or banal things may seem, you always have the ability to create something. And I think that, to me, is the beauty of photography. It's that simple fact that the most everyday things, the most mundane situations become extraordinary. And I champion that through photography. I say yes to life with the click of the shutter, and I just find that to be such an empowering way to see and perceive the world, you know? And yeah, so just using photography as a way for me to augment my reality, to create a new world, to create my own world, my own interpretation of the world around me. And I think that through immersing yourself in your own world, creating your own world, you know, this to me is what gives my life purpose. This to me is what gives my life deeper meaning. And so, yeah, I mean, with that being said, maybe you can't live forever, but at least you can make a photograph. And so I encourage you to think more critically about why you photograph and how you can use photography to enhance your everyday life. Yeah. Let's go to this. I'm gonna go there. I don't know what that is, but that looks kind of cool. Hayakendana. Yeah, I'm going there. Look at this. Look at this poster. Let's go.